Good morning, beginning farmer friends. It's a little chilly today. Last time I checked, it was 35 degrees, cloudy right now, and I did not plug the tractor in. That didn't start too bad, I guess. But I wanted to answer a question because somebody asked a very important and telling question last week. And the question was, how did you get so much stuff on your farm if you've only lived there for 12 years? If you're new to the channel, let me give you a brief history of the farm. We've been here for approximately 12 years, and prior to 12 years ago, none of this was here. No shed, no grain bin, no hoop house, no house behind us, no fence. This was a complete blank slate. And so in 12 years, I have built up so much junk to the point where I'm hauling away scrap piles, and it does beg the question, how did this happen so quickly? Well, there's a lot of answers to it, and some of them are excuses, some of them are confessions, and I thought I would share those with you today so maybe you don't make the same mistake as you're starting your farm. The first strike against me and the great mess of Crooked Gap Farm is that I had zero experience. I had not grown up on the farm, and so I really didn't know what I needed. I just saw things and I thought, oh, that's something that I need. And so I collected things like wagon gears, chainsaws, barge boxes, whatever it was that I thought that's what a farmer needs to have, that's what I bought. The second problem was not only did I not know what I was doing, but I tried to do it all. A lot of farmers in my position, first generation farmers or farmers one generation removed from the farm, they start out with chickens or they start out with a couple pigs. I started out with everything. I started out with cattle, then pigs, then chickens. We moved all of that stuff to the farm right away. That caused a lot of problems because I needed a lot of stuff to get all of that going at once. And so I brought in more stuff. Helps if I turn on the fuel. Got a bucket full of wood there. If this weather keeps up and we have 70s all fall and winter, that's all we're gonna need. Reason number 3 for the stuff-pocalypse on Crooked Gap Farm, well, it's best if I just show you an example on this one. This bulk bin, it came from my uncle's farm. Destroyed porta hut, New Holland wagon gear under this pile, gates like these, farrowing crate, grain wagon, and this cultipacker, it came from my uncle's farm too. I'm not saying that all of that stuff is junk or that I'm not thankful for all of that stuff at all, because there is a ton of stuff that has come from my uncle's farm that has been a huge help over the years, especially as we were getting going and we had nothing on this farm. Some of the things that came to the farm started out in rough shape and they just didn't last very long once they got out in the elements and under the pressure of livestock on them and the pressure of an inexperienced farmer. Again, very thankful. I mean, very thankful for all the help that I've received from my family, not only in time, but also in things. Reason number 4 for the stuff NATO on our farm is actually auction excess. For example, I've got all these tires behind me right here that basically just came from auctions. I have a barge box that, well, now it's on the pile that's going to be burned, but when I got it, I actually used it. I had a friend who picked ear corn and I went over and helped them, and they gave me a couple of barge boxes of ear corn, and the first year that we had hogs, we fed them ear corn, like corn on the cob, literally. But when you buy a wagon like that at an auction, there's always a bunch of stuff like this that kind of just come along with the wagon, and instead of getting rid of them right away, I just threw them in a pile behind the shed. It built up over time, and 12 years in, the pile kept getting bigger and bigger. Reason number 5 for Mount Junk Everest is just plain trial and error. There are a lot of things in this mountain of wood, rotten wood, broken wood, that were just my attempts at a good idea that really wasn't a good idea or was not a well executed idea. Let me show you this. This right here is what is left of our biggest chicken wagon to date. I actually had it on the wagon gear that we just scrapped, which probably tells you the problem. It was a big design on a bad wagon gear with no supports for wind. This wagon went toppling over. When we pulled it back right side up, the wagon gear was all busted up because it wasn't very good to start with. A lot of this wood is salvageable, but a lot of it broke and fell apart because, well, you know, the wind knocked it over on its side. That's what happens on the farm though when you're a beginner. You try things and they don't work out, and sometimes instead of repurposing them right away, the mistake that I made was just threw them in the weeds and they kind of went back to the ground. Reason number 6 for the monument to wasted materials on our farm is because all too often I use the wrong tool for the job. Let me show you what I mean by that. A perfect example is this green gate right here. When we finally started putting some fence on the farm, we needed to put gates on the farm, so I went to the farm store and I bought the cheapest gate they had. This gate right here is absolutely destroyed. I've got it held together with hose clamps and a hog panel. The reason that it is destroyed is because I got the wrong tool for the job. We have pigs on our farm, and these green gates, when pigs rub up against them or scratch their backs on them, they don't hold up, and pigs are gonna do stuff like that. So from now on, I only buy red gates. Yesterday I had 2 pigs to load and take to the locker. Today I have 8 pigs and I'd like to leave in an hour. So hopefully everything goes the way it did yesterday. It should. The system works. Let's put it to the test. Reason number 7 for the multitude of excess on our farm is bad organization. Bad organization led me to buy and buy and buy because I couldn't find what I was looking for, so I went and bought another one. We talked about that a lot when we talk about Lean Farm. FYI, it took me 15 minutes by the time I backed up until I closed the gate on the 8th pig. I would say that's pretty good. Back to the organization though. By not having an organized farm and an organized shop and organized stuff, I just continually bought more and more things, whether it was portable fence netting or insulators for the fence or sockets for tools. Those things all added up, and while they didn't land on the junk pile like a lot of stuff did out there, it is a case where I have too much and I've spent too much when I didn't need to spend so much. Reason number 8 for this monster monstrosity is simply that I've progressed to better systems. Not everything that I've gone away from is junk. Not everything that I tried is bad. It's just that as our farm has grown, there's been better systems for us to use, so some things have gone to the wayside. Things like livestock water tank heaters and barge boxes and small 6-foot blades for behind the tractor. All of those things served a purpose at one time in the process of our farm, but now we've just moved on to bigger things. Not because those things were bad, but just because as we've grown, our systems have grown and our needs have grown. Those things have moved along and we replaced them with better things. Things that will help us raise 150 to 200 pigs a year, 500 to 1500 chickens a year, egg layers, sheep, rabbits, cattle. All of those things take infrastructure, and as we've made our way along the process, we've had to upgrade our infrastructure, and some of it was just, process. As we got bigger, the hodgepodge of stuff that worked when we were small didn't work anymore. So we've upgraded and we've brought things to the farm that work for us. I share that list not because I want to make an excuse for all the mess that I have on the farm, make you feel like you understand why I have the mess and how I could accumulate so much stuff in 12 years, but I share that because I don't want you to fall into those same hard lessons learned that I've fallen into. By the way, if you didn't know, at this garden area right here, this is where the very first Crooked Gap Farm pigs were raised. We have come a long ways, and it's easy to see why we accumulated so much and now how we have refined our systems and we're ready to get rid of that stuff and be lean. It was a long process, and it was a process that would have been a lot easier if I had a farming background, or if I had gone and worked on someone else's farm, or if I had just asked more questions. But sometimes you just have to learn by doing. That's what I did on my farm. I'm not saying I want you to make all of those mistakes because it's kind of a hassle cleaning up after myself. But there's just some things that you do have to learn. That's why at the end of my podcast, I've always had a hard lesson learned. My farming experience, it's been a lot of hard lessons learned. I've probably said it before, but there's just something unbelievably satisfying for me to take a load of hogs to the locker. That's probably one of the most satisfying things about being the farmer for me, is seeing all that labor that we put into raising amazing pigs and then being able to process it and take it to our customers, our friends, That is so awesome. Speaking of awesome things and awesome people, thank you all so much for watching. You all are awesome. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell, notification. You know the drill. I'm gonna take these pigs up to our friends at the Story City Locker.